Okay, first things first. Are you someone who should launch a startup? The thought of a startup is seductive. You're going to be your own boss. You will finally get to do things your own way. You will no longer be bound by stifling corporate inefficiencies and politics. If you succeed, you'll make a lot of money and be famous. People will respect you. People will ask for your opinions, etc. The reality of it is that while all that is possible, it will likely come after a lot of hard work, stress, tension, and worry, if it happens at all. As most of you know, approximately 90% of all startups fail. As someone who dreamt of doing his own startup for many years and finally got a chance to do his own startup, I have identified some key characteristics that a startup founder should have from my own experience of being a startup founder. If a person is lacking in these qualities, then he should reconsider whether he should be an entrepreneur or not. So here are the characteristics. 1. You have to have realistic expectations. Yes, your startup could end up as a fairy tale story, but more than likely, it will be a long and slow journey filled with obstacles and challenges. And you may have to compromise and sell out with a small profit, if there is a profit at all. Managing expectations is important if you plan to make it through till the end. Typically in a startup, in the beginning, there's excitement and enthusiasm, followed by disappointment and disillusionment, and then lethargy and despair, culminating in the failure of the startup. Therefore, managing expectations for the entire journey is extremely important. 2. You have to be a person who is willing to admit what he does not know. No one person can know and do everything. Typically, you will have expertise in one area and will have to hire people to perform work in the other areas. For example, I have IT and technology experience, and so I needed to hire people with expertise in other areas and get their advice on the work that had to be performed there. So you have to be able to put aside your ego and take advice from the people who are better than you in those other areas. Startups fail because people let their egos get in the way of sound decision making. 3. You will have to be constantly learning. And this follows from the previous step of first admitting that you do not know everything. Often, you will have to pick up knowledge that you don't know but need to know for a particular task. Now, you won't have to become a world-class expert on that topic, but you will need to know enough at a high level to manage the work that needs to be done around that topic. So do not launch a startup if you're not willing to be constantly learning. 4. You have to be a problem solver. Many problems in all areas of the startup will arise, and you will have to be able to solve the problems as you may be the only one involved in that task. Even if you do have other people involved in the task, often they'll have the mentality of just showing up to work as opposed to a get the work done and find the solution mentality. Often they will stop work claiming to be blocked and then just look to you for the solution. So the ability to think on your feet and find solutions in areas that are not your expertise is a very important quality for any entrepreneur to have. 5. You have to be a person who's both willing to do things by the book and also think on their feet and make changes to normal processes as necessary. Too often, startups have an undocumented, unstructured approach, which ultimately leads to their demise. Follow the process as it's meant to be followed, but do not give in to the temptation to skip steps. However, this does not mean that you cannot make changes or modifications to the process as needed. Steps exist for a reason, and you cannot skip steps just because you're a small startup. Just because you're baking a small cupcake instead of a big wedding cake does not mean you'll skip the step of putting the cake mix in the oven. You can modify steps as needed, but do not completely skip them. You must have the discipline to live up to the process and possess the creativity and knowledge to modify or eliminate steps as needed. 6. You must possess very good time management skills. Now, I do not mean just the ability to not procrastinate or spend long hours working. Of course, you have to do those things. But on top of that, you must be able to prioritize what is important and assign your limited time in the day to what makes the most sense to do. Also, if you're facing an obstacle for a task and you're unable to solve that issue and it's taking more and more of your time, you must realize when to stop and move on to other issues. This is similar to taking an exam where you don't want to spend too much time on any one question and run out of time unable to answer subsequent questions because you spent too much time on that one question. Time management and prioritization skills are essential for any entrepreneur. 7, there will be situations where you will have to cut your losses and move on. For example, a third party that you may have hired is consistently failing. You'll want to make the realization that they are not good enough and then make the decision to cut them from your project. Now, this may be challenging for you to do as it may trigger many emotions within you. You may not want to take the time and money loss on them. You may feel that maybe giving them a little more time may solve the issue. Furthermore, there's also the inconvenience of finding their replacement and then the time and effort necessary for the new people to understand and take over the task. All of this may tempt you into staying with the underperforming third party. However, continuing with them will only be throwing good money after bad. You will have to find the strength and resolve to cut them from your project. As in stock market trading, you have to have stop losses in place and honor them when certain thresholds are reached and take the loss and move on. If you're not a person who can do this when necessary, then entrepreneurship may not be the right choice for you. 8, you will have to work with people of all age and experience levels. The fantasy of being the boss and only making high-level executive decisions does not exist in the startup world. You will have to get down and dirty and work with people half your age and sometimes just out of school. Being a startup, money will probably be limited, which means you will not be in a position to be able to alienate the people you're working with, and you will have to deal with them in a tactful manner. Do not get into the startup world if you're not willing to be very humble and work with everyone and take on any task, however menial. 9, you will have to find a way to stay emotionally centered. The best way is to have supportive family and friends who can help take your mind off the worries and tensions of the day and can provide you with pleasant company with whom you can do fun things. So make sure you have people like that in your life before you begin your startup and eliminate all toxic people from your life. 10, you will have to be disciplined in your personal life and will likely have to simplify many aspects of it. Doing a startup is like training for a fight. You need to focus on it and minimize all distractions. Eating healthy and maintaining a sensible fitness regime will provide you with the health and energy to get through it. You will also have less time to spend with family and friends, and they will have to accept your unavailability. So please be prepared for the impact a startup can have on your life. These are some qualities that you need to have if you want to succeed in the startup world. The great thing about a regular job is that a lot of these qualities are either unnecessary or are required in a much smaller way. For some of you, working a job and rising up the ranks of a good company may be the best way to go. However, if you have the qualities I mentioned, you may find the startup world more to your liking, and we will have a better chance of success at it. In this video, I wanted to warn you of the realities of startup life and some of the qualities required to be successful at it. And I hope you found the content useful. But that's all I had for now. See you next time. Take care and good luck, everyone.